Sometimes Creative Assembly makes an update to pulling out, so you've got to practice pulling out, preferably with a friend. So today, just do just that. I've got Rider of Rohan here, of course, Mr. Cavalry himself, to test out the new pulling out mechanic to see in battle, in practice, how much of a difference it makes. I'll have a little bit of testing at the end. I don't really love to show testing on this channel too much because that's not how the game works. I much prefer to show battles in their fullness, in context and everything, because that's how battles are played, obviously. But anyway, taking a look at the builds here, I've got some Marauders and Chaos Warriors mixed here in the front line with some Great Weapons and Shields mixed. Archaon on foot with 3 Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. I've also got a couple Marauder Horsemen and some Chaos Poison Warhounds out in the woods there. Rider Rohan coming in with Archmage of Fire, backing up an Arcane Phoenix, plus the Fireborn. He's got some War Lions, some Reaver Archers, and some White Line Infantry, along with Rangers up front. Ithilmar Chariot as well, must be remembered. So yeah, we're going to check a little bit as much as we can to see, you know, in real time, in battle, how much of a difference that change actually will make. And just based on the testing and the few battles I have played, I'll just tell you up front that it does seem to make a bit of a difference. The more unit models a unit has, the easier it is generally to pull out, and the more they'll kind of ignore. The lower the model count of a unit, the more likely they are to still get stuck and go back into melee, which does happen sometimes even still with certain units. But we'll show more of that in just a minute here. It's going to be a nice all-front charge with Chaos Knights going straight into the places where there are not Dragon Princes. Even then, we're going to throw a little Spirit Leech and Searing Doom on these Dragon Princes here. On the opposite side, Knights of Tzeentch able to get in there and do some really nice damage to those War Lions and generally pressure away. Nice Flamestorm from Rider of Rohan, though, as you saw, the Searing Doom also came in, did some really nice damage to the Fireborn. So let's see. As my Chaos Knights start to pull out, all 3 are pulling out here. This one gets a little bit caught up and goes back in. This one, I think I actually reissued the order to get back in. And let's see if these guys are able to actually get fully away. I might have reissued the order here as well, but okay, there I did actually charge them back in. So far, it looks pretty good in practice. I mean, they were all able to pull out of those engagements relatively easily. Weren't overly stuck in, but still, this Flamestorm will be hanging around on this flank for some time, just as kind of a hostile terrain piece to both sides. So we'll keep that in the side ground as the Elves and Chaos fight it out once again. My Chaos Knights pulling away, having pretty much no problem doing so. That Searing Doom there gets a little bit of contact, nothing too crazy, but then they charge on back in. Fireborn counteracting them with Lion support, with the Archmage support as well. I am throwing some Javelins in on the flank and just pincushing a handful of unit models there, but definitely the Knights of Tzeentch are taking the worst end of that engagement. In the center, though, we've been able to clean up quite a few infantry. Those Rangers really couldn't hold a candle to the heavier Chaos Infantry, and the White Line Infantry is slowly losing out to the Chaos Warrior Great Weapons with support, even though those 2 units are pretty close. It'll probably be close to 50-50. If you fought them, you know, individually 1v1, but again, that's not how the game works, so let's keep the cinematic view of these Tzeentch Knights. They fight it out, and they get shot up themselves with the Reavers. We'll then move into combat with them. And yeah, let's see now, this unit of Chaos Knights just countercharging back in, so it's been a little bit hard to tell exactly when the movement orders are issued versus when charge orders are issued, but again, just from my own experience being the one that actually played this battle, it's felt pretty decent for the most part. Although Rider of Rohan also has been able to do a good job of managing them, so it's not like it's completely overpowered, but nice little Phoenix cone of diarrhea there. Fight or die from Archaon, though, juicing up their melee attack significantly. And there's a nice Flamestorm as well. Gonna do some very good damage on these Chaos troops. We'll roll up some High Elves as well, though. Once the Flamestorm is cast, of course, it doesn't care about who it incinerates. Speaking of which, let's see some Searing Doom. Hot lead from the sky dropping down, doing some nice damage, and again, forcing some units to move off station. So at this point, I'm feeling pretty confident we've been able to wipe most of the support units. And I'm not too worried about the Arcane Phoenix and the Archmage, even 2v1 with Archaon, just because I have so much support left. And like especially these Marauder Horseman javelins being still alive, having plenty of ammunition can help contribute. Even if Rider of Rohan were to aggressively cycle charge here, it gives me at least a small amount of kind of fight back. Not to mention Spirit Leech, of course, from Archaon himself. But Archaon will get in here on foot, play some of his cool, unique animations. Maybe. At least he got like one attack animation in right there. Let's see Rider Rohan as he pulls away there. We'll fast forward a little bit, as again, I do have some light testing to show you guys. Well, Spirit Leech there. Phoenix and the Archmage drop onto these Chaos Warriors. Finishing off the last of the Ithilmar Chariot, which did some okay disruption. I don't know about how much actual damage it did, but it was here. 92 kills, 750 value, so not completely useless. Certainly does do something. And these crappy High Elves are hanging around. They're trying their best to claw things back, keeping the Archmage and the Arcane Phoenix together. Finishing off these Tzeentch Knights. Yeah, the Reavers also kind of hanging around, using their bows and swords to good effect, but will they stand against a full-on Chaos Warrior unit? Probably not. But he did manage to kill all the Tzeentch Knights. That said, the double Fire Pigeon here between the Lord and the Arcane Phoenix. I'm actually surprised that the Eagle doesn't deal fire damage when it has the Archmage of Fire. It would be pretty cool. Some nice little synergy, but alas, it's not meant to be. And with her routing, getting wrecked by Archaon there in combat. Just the Arcane Phoenix remaining. It's not going to be enough to save the High Elves. So again, we'll fast forward through that endgame and then get to some quick light testing. So yeah, I mean, the fix doesn't work perfectly, I should say, and we'll see that a little bit in the testing, but in practice it feels better, which is definitely a point in Creative Assembly's favor. I know they haven't been winning much lately, but it does seem like this hotfix at least attempted to do the right thing, even if the execution was maybe, you know, like 85% of what, you know, would be completely ideal. But I guess given the circumstances with the spaghetti code that Warhammer is ultimately made of, it's the best that can be hoped for, although certainly I hope that Creative Assembly releases more like actual balance patches soon. Who knows? 4.1, it's been rumored for some time. Didn't come out in the month of October, but I'm hopeful for November sometime, maybe, to get that patch out. I am expecting Thrones of Decay to be delayed until the new year. You know, no official word on that yet, no insider information, just me purely speculating. But I could be wrong. You know, maybe they'll surprise us and throw something out there in December. But anyway, regardless, this particular battle here, yeah, the Chaos Knights, even though, again, it feels a little bit better, Rider Rohan, it's more of a credit to him in managing them quite well. Synergizing the Fireborn with that lore of fire there, and just overall, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like my army took a lot of damage, but then when I look on the army damage values here, it's not like anything really jumps out at me as having been particularly wildly effective, so it's interesting. But yeah, Tzeentch Knights were dealt with just fine. My infantry definitely took a beating, but was one of the keys for me to winning. They just traded so cost-effectively against the High Elf infantry here. And then, of course, mobility, kind of providing that auxiliary support where I needed it to. And Archaon, being the absolute Chad that he is, was able to get a lot of value on his own. So, yeah, let's go ahead and just jump quickly into some quick little testing replays that Rider Rohan and I ran. So we'll fast forward through these for the most part, but just to give you guys an idea of, again, this isn't how the game works, okay? There's always a million more variables in an actual battle, but can inform sometimes your decision making or maybe expected performance in very specific situations. So the reason we're up against greenskins is because we have a nice mix of infantry mass here. So we've got Black Orcs on the heavy end at 190, Orc Boys is kind of a medium infantry, 130, and Goblins at only 90 mass. So we're going to watch first these Illyrian Reavers charge on in, and I'll get the nice wide view so you can see the health bars. Not that we're really watching for the charges, we're mostly here for the pulling out. So Rider Rohan's going to fight for a few seconds, and then attempt to disengage. And you'll see here, I mean, higher model count units already didn't have as much of a problem before, right? You can see here, this one has a little bit of an issue where they, like, think about possibly going back, but then decide to just forsake their friend and leave him. The other ones are able to mostly disengage without too much issue. So, I know Human Boy recently released a video about showing this sort of hesitation where they, like, want to go back, but then the game tells them to, you know, actually move away, and we do see that a little bit here throughout these tests, but for the most part, it seems better. Again, in these tests and in practice both, it does feel a little bit better. It's, again, not 100%, maybe like 80%, but 80 to 85%, but we'll show you some flying units here in just a moment as well. But again, same thing here. You know, we see some more unit models getting stuck up on the Black Orcs this time. Again, a little bit of hesitation, but ultimately they are able to pull away, leaving those stuck unit models behind, right? Which is the behavior that we would want, is to just, you know, it sucks if you're the guy getting left behind, certainly, but it's better than losing the entire unit for no reason, right? So, again, one more time, this time with the actual Dragon Princes. And again, we see the same result, more or less, repeated. Yeah, very effective charge. Almost able to break the goblins on a single charge there, but a little bit of hesitation. This time they almost run all the way back into the Black Orcs. And the thing is, with that little hesitation move, if the full unit actually goes all the way back and comes into contact with the unit they're trying to get away from, obviously they're just going to lose that movement order, and ultimately the fix will fail. But still, it seems that it did something there, right? Like, even if it's not 100%, definitely seems like something. So let's go ahead and load up one more testing replay, this time up against the foul forces of Nurgle, so that we can take a look at a few different flying units. We did run this test also with Bretonia, but I wasn't quite satisfied. We were having some... I mean, I could show you guys those. I just don't think they're worth showing you, is what I'm saying. But, yeah, this time we're going to fly the units directly overhead, the orcs and goblins, and just, you know, charge straight down, or at least attempt to. This time, maybe not quite, but kind of see how quite a few of those unit models are getting stuck. I mean, Furies, we would expect them to mostly just die anyway, because their HP and leadership is so low, but let's see. The unit is able to actually fly away before those unit models, yeah, they're able to either all escape or die. So again, we're going to repeat that and see, this time directly from above, so they're truly as saturated as possible into the middle of the Orc Boys. That also means they're going to take lots of damage. Let's see if they're able to get away from any of those three. Looks like the Black Orcs will kill them off in time. Orc Boys also killed them off in time, although they probably would have escaped if they had a bit more leadership. They are able to escape the goblins ultimately, so again, how much does that help? It's hard to say. I didn't really run these individual tests before the patch, but again, just based purely on feeling and based on my initial kind of observations on these tests, it does seem a bit better. But let's do this one now. Of course, the Plague Drones moving in. They're going to get very well saturated due to their kind of chaotic attack animations and sending units scattering all over the place. So let's see as they try and pull out. And this is what I'm talking about, in that, like, the more unit models a unit has, the easier it seems to be for them to pull out. Ultimately, the Rotflies have a very low model count here, so you can see how they're actually having more issues flying out. So this might also be something where the Rotflies themselves need a bit more mass, because they're not able to actually disengage like more than half their unit models. But even in this case, you can see... Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, if they were reissued an attack order, if they came back on their own volition. But this unit, at the very least, is kind of showcasing how the fix works to a degree. Like, these unit models are all still stuck on the ground here, while these ones actually followed the order and got up into the air. Eventually, these ones are also following as well, so I guess the takeaway from this is it doesn't seem to be 100% consistent, and in these tests, Rider Rohan's only issuing one movement order, so in practice, you're probably going to be issuing multiple movement orders, you know, over the course of that few seconds, most likely, and they should pull out a bit more effectively. Again, might require some micro, but less micro than it would previously, where you'd have to, like, only micro that unit and literally spam click them hundreds of times to get them to disengage, it felt like. But yeah, so eventually they are able to all kind of get away. Interesting. So we'll play it through to the final test with the Plague Drones. Not that there's much difference between them and the Rotflies in terms of mass, they just have slightly better stats. So let's see here. Plague Drones is a unit they could probably do with a mass buff, to be honest. Similar to how Royal Pegasus Knights have better mass than regular Pegasus Knights, these guys should probably have better mass than just the regular Rotflies, since it's a Rider and Beast together. But again, we see them kind of struggling to pull out to a much greater degree than other units that we've seen. So, you know, things like Rotflies, potentially, although Hippogriff Knights have much better mass, so they might not have too much issue, but stuff like Rotflies or, you know, Vargeist with the lower model count will have a bit harder of a time disengaging. Stuff with higher model count, like regular cavalry, or even stuff like Pegasus Knights or, you know, like Cold Ones or something, they'll have a little bit easier of a time, but still might require some additional babysitting. Like here, they charge into the Trolls for one last final test. See, like, if they charge into a properly high mass unit, they pretty much just get massacred. And because of the Troll's speed, they're able to kind of keep up with the ones that get stuck on the ground and move to where movement order has been issued to. So it definitely, yeah, definitely, that wasn't a good idea before and still is not a good idea now. So hopefully you learned something from this. It, again, seems like a step in the right direction. I'm glad Creative Assembly attempted to fix, even if it wasn't 100% effective. I'll take 85% effective, you know, any day of the week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.